So I do want to say that what we are focusing on is ways to get your voice amplified in your community. And we are specifically talking about events. So if you have a grassroots organization, if you maybe have a political club that you're in, or you just have an issue that you want your community to hear about, there's so many ways to do that. Obviously, you can work with media. We have a whole training on that. In fact, it's coming up in a couple of weeks. Tonight, we are really focusing on events, things you can do to get out in your community and get that message heard, get people learning about your organization. And so we are going to talk about amplifying your message. So to start, though, we want to have a little fun. We want to take a poll. So we are going to do a quick Kahoot, which is just 2 questions. And you can do this on your phone. If you don't have your phone available, it's fine. You can also drop an answer in the chat. But the questions are going to appear on your computer or your phone screen, and I'm going to read them aloud. So you can use your web browser that's on your phone, Chrome, Safari, whatever you have. So what you want to do is you want to grab your phone, open up your browser, and go to kahoot.it, kahoot.it. And then in 1 minute, I'm going to start the Kahoot, and you're going to see a code. It's 6 digits, and you're going to enter that in the game pin field. Or there's a QR code if you just want to scan that and get into the game that way. That's fine. I'm going to ask you for a nickname. So your name, a name you want to use in the game. If you can't get in or this is too complicated, don't worry about it. Just 2 questions. We're just going to have a little bit of fun tonight. But we want to see where everybody is when it comes to organizing and events. Okay. You're on Kahoot.it. That's the game pin, 5206125, or you can scan that QR code. All right, we are going to get going because this is for fun before we hit the main event here. Okay, this is a word cloud. What is your favorite way to take action right now? Are you someone who is going to a rally? Are you working on a campaign for someone? Are you signing petitions? Are you going to meetings for your political party? Are you working in grassroots? What are you doing? Everyone type your answer, and we're going to see what pops up on the word cloud. I made this kind of fast, so because this is just the fun part. We want to get to the main event, but I thought it would be kind of fun for us to see what everyone is doing in their communities right now. All right, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Resistance, community aid, Occupy, the biggest ones, protest, rally, protest, meetings, rallies, lots and lots of that. Ooh, someone has running for office. I love that. Working with Indivisible, volunteering, passing out leaflets, calling senators and reps. Yes, yes, yes. Trouble Nation meetups. I love this. Okay, you guys are doing a lot of things, all kinds of things. Would love to see that. All right, next question is a poll. We want to see what you guys have specifically participated or organized. Town halls. Have you done a town hall, a tabling event, a rally, a teach-in, a petition signing, or a phone bank? Or maybe you've done none of these. That's fine. If you're here tonight and you want to learn, that's great too. All right, let's see what the answers are. It looks like we got a lot of people at rallies, 135 of those, petitions and signings. That's great. Town halls is another big one. Okay, I love it. And a lot of you are doing a lot of the things, and this is great. This is what we want. We guys want you guys out in the community. And thank you for participating in that. Okay, so we are here tonight to talk about amplifying, how to grab attention for what you are doing. What I want to talk about as part of Red, Wine, and Blue is something that we do a lot of, which is tabling events. And I know a lot of you show up at your farmers markets or your community events, and you put those tables up and you want to get attention, or you're trying to think of some things you can do in person. The Zinn Education Project, who are our partners who do such great work, are here tonight, and they are going to give you some amazing ideas for events that you may never have thought of. Things that are a little outside the box that your neighbors and your friends are going to be like, wait, what's that all about? So we're going to have them talk about that. I want to talk real quickly about some traditional things that you can do that Red, Wine, and Blue has gotten some great I guess, knowledge from now because we've done so many of these. So number one, you are at an event, everyone sets up their tables, there's 100 tables there, everybody kind of looks alike. I will tell you the one thing that draws people in is they like free stuff. So if you have freebies, we pass out really adorable stickers. I saw this one for a free not MAGA flag. So anything you can pass out. Everybody does candy. Everybody does pencils and pens. Find something different. Find something fun that you can pass out. The signage here, I love this free not MAGA flag. You know, that draws people's attention. That's going to bring them in. The other thing I like to say is that I've seen a lot of people tabling where they just sit behind the table and wait for people to come to them. That's not going to work. You need to get out in front of that table. You need to hold up your stickers. You need to hold up your flags. You need to hold up the free stuff that you're passing out. Bring them in. Bring people in. Hey, would you like a sticker? Come check this out. That's one way to really get people involved. The other thing that we have found, especially when you're at family-friendly events, is that if you can bring the kids over, then you get the parents, right? If you can bring kids over to do a rock painting or to do something like a friendship bracelet, while the kids are doing the craft, the parents stand there and they have to talk to you. One way we distinguish ourselves, especially at busy events like Pride, is we give away banned books. Parents walk by and they glance in the tents, but what they see is a whole bunch of books, and we're like, come on over. Are you guys interested in a book? And if we can get people to sign up and join our mailing list, we get them a book. The other thing to tap into is like, what are people actually already doing? What are the things people love to do? Trivia, bingo. People are into their crafts, right? So we have gone to trivia nights at your local bar, but we put a red, white, and blue tablecloth on the table. Our team name is Red, White, and Blue, and we have all kinds of literature. So when people come over and they start asking, what is this all about? You get that attention. Band bingo, that's another thing we do. We love to hold band bingo events. People love to come to that. It's a different thing. It's not your typical bingo. We know people love to craft. They love to make those friendship bracelets. They like to crochet. They like to knit. Go somewhere public and do that. Go to a coffee house, sit together with signs and literature. Go to your park. Anything you can do to get attention for those types of things. And then the other thing is, I just like to say, don't be afraid to stand out. We have done some really fun things. Like we were at a conference and we made capes off the internet with our logo, and we walked around with these superhero capes on. We've got fun, funky glasses. We're making a fool out of ourselves, and that is a really great way. We got so much attention for having those capes and doing that kind of work. So those are just some really quick ways to like up your game when it comes to tabling. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to be very excited now to introduce to you the main event, which is our friends at Zinn Education Project. And I think you guys are going to start some slides so I can present. Yes, we are so happy. We have Fuzia and Jesse here tonight to talk to you about some non-traditional things that you might want to be doing in your community. So Jesse is an editor for Rethinking Schools and campaign director for the Zinn Education Project. Fuzia has built advocate education programs that have reached 550 plus movement leaders and activists in 17 countries, including the US. So I'm going to turn it over to them for the rest of the presentation. And then we are hoping at the end to save some time for Q&A. So please hold on for that and drop your questions in the chat as we go.
Thank you, Julie. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. Welcome everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. And like Julie said, we're going to be presenting a couple of different strategies for you to think about amplifying your issue or your cause. And we're going to get started. So, all right, here we go. So Julia talked about just now about craftivism, and so we want to start off with community art projects. So community art projects such as murals or street installations, public performances, they can serve as powerful visual storytelling tools that highlight social justice issues, amplify marginalized voices, and spark dialogue within your community. So by making complex issues more accessible and emotionally resonant, community art projects can inspire action and mobilize people around a cause. Next. So continuing on with community art projects. So one of the reasons why it's so important is engaging communities in collaborative art making fosters relationships. It strengthens solidarity within your community, and it provides an inclusive platform for diverse participants to share their experiences. This poster is actually an example of artwork created by artists at Education Amplifier. And they work with artists to create vivid and striking posters that can be used in the classroom. I've seen a few hung on the streets, hung in public spaces, at cafes. I'm pretty sure probably some of you are familiar with their work. And I want to move on to photo frames, which is something that we actually utilize as an education project. So this is another example of an art project that you can create. And it is, we use messages like teach truth or I read banned books. And you also can think about how you can leverage sort of hashtags that relate to your issue through these photo frames. And what we want to do is we're dropping a guide in the chat with suggestions on how you can use this as something like visually striking. And you can have this in a stationary location, such as a photo booth, or to take with you to an event, and something to encourage folks in your communities, allies to your issue or cause, who are invested in your issue, to take a photo and share over social media to amplify your message. We also want to share another resource with you that is related to like art and social justice. So we're dropping another resource in the chat from cultural strategist and interdisciplinary artist, Fabiana Rodriguez. Some of you might be familiar with her work through the Center for Cultural Power. But Fabiana uses art to highlight systemic issues, and her website is a great resource and includes free guides on making justice-centered art pieces like posters, banners, or stencils. So the next strategy we want to talk to you about is data visualization. So this is less of an event, more of a strategy that you can use. But something that we want to highlight is that data visualizations such as infographics like the one on your screen, things like comics, maps, charts, they transform complex statistics about your issue into clear, digestible, compelling narratives. So by illustrating disparities, trends, systemic issues in visually engaging ways, you as organizers can educate the public and policymakers more effectively, making it easier to rally to support for a cause. We want to give you a few other examples, and we're also going to be sharing a few resources in the chat. So many of you might be familiar with the data journalist Mona Chalabi, and she uses data visualization to emphasize the scale and the seriousness of a social justice issue. So here on your screen, she compares an image that we're all familiar with, like the size of a parking space, with the size of a solitary confinement cell. Next, these are infographics that were created by the local Young Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or as they're known, SNCC. And these were created by SNCC activists in 1996, showing local residents in Lowndes County in Alabama that not only could they register to vote, but that they should consider running for office. And if you take a look at these infographics, or these comics rather, so continuing on, so the comics made the role of the elected officials less mysterious to folks, encouraging them to run for office. And then I believe this is, yes, this is the last example of data visualization. So something that we had, an example from third graders is actually using something more, a tangible strategy for visibility and calling to attention the lack of diversity in their school library. So moving on, we wanted to talk about community building as a strategy, community building dinners rather. They're also known as civic dinners. And it is a method or strategy to create structured yet an informal space where diverse community members can come together to discuss pressing social issues. So fostering dialogue in a shared meal setting helps build trust, encourage collaboration, and lay the groundwork for collective action. These gatherings can serve as a springboard for organizing efforts by educating attendees on specific issues connecting them with advocacy opportunities or even organizations, and empowering them to take action, whether through policy initiatives, volunteer efforts, or grassroots campaigns. In the chat, we're going to be sharing with you a few resources on how to organize a dinner yourself. There are a few organizations that do this type of work, and they have facilitator guidelines on how to organize dinner conversations. These are organizations like Inclusive and also the African American Policy Forum. Next, we have community vigils. So community vigils are spaces that bring people together to mourn, for remembrance, for protest, and also for reinforcing community solidarity. And they can serve as highly visible, symbolic actions that create public and media attention. By creating a powerful visual and emotional moment, they highlight injustices, they honor victims, and pressure decision makers to address systemic issues. The next strategy we have are personal testimonies. So personal testimonies are dynamic. They can be shared through videos, social media posts, digital storytelling campaigns, or something as tangible in person as you see in this photo of the person kind of looking at all of these different testimonies hung on this wooden panel or wooden frame. So when individuals share their lived experiences, they create powerful emotional connections that can shift public opinion and mobilize supporters. Further in that, creating an in-person space for personal testimonies, like the example of the previous image, or even sharing personal testimonies in a public place, like a historic site or rally, that can help build awareness of your issue. Digital platforms also allow testimonies to reach wider audiences through hashtags, viral campaigns, and influencer partnerships. The next strategy we're going to go through is a Know Your Rights workshop. And this is a really great strategy or tactic for those of you working on immigration and reproductive issues. If you work in law, or if you know someone that works, who's a lawyer who works in law, this would be a great way to organize, or rather, this is a great tactic to organize a workshop around. Know Your Rights workshops allow you to provide a service to the impacted population while also building community. And it is a strategy, or rather an event that where you can turn education into action. A Know Your Rights workshop equips individuals with essential legal knowledge to navigate interactions with law enforcement, employers, landlords, and other authorities. By reducing fear and uncertainty, especially during these times, these workshops enable communities to advocate for themselves and resist oppression and violence. These workshops can also serve as an entry point for deeper community engagement by connecting attendees with local organizations, legal resources, and advocacy groups. They create opportunities for people to organize around systemic issues such as police accountability, workers' rights, immigration justice, turning education into action. The next strategy we have are mini lessons. So this is a way to engage people so that they can learn about an issue and also interact with each other. It can be a gallery walk or a mixer activity. For example, you can place quotes about the issue around a room for people to read and comment on, or you can hand each person a different quote and have them meet in pairs and discuss. And then the last strategy, before I'll turn it to my colleagues, are myth-busting initiatives. So myth-busting campaigns help correct harmful narratives and misinformation that it can impede your issue or just social justice movements in general. By using engaging visuals, videos, and infographics, organizers can quickly spread factual, accessible content that challenges misconceptions and reframes the conversation around key issues.
All right, I am next. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation from Fuzia. I really loved seeing all the myriad ways we can resist. And we wanted to draw your attention to an incredible opportunity to put all these uh, different strategies in motion because for the past 4 summers, the Zinn Education Project and more than 70 co-sponsors, including Red Wine and Blue, have coordinated National Teach Truth Days of Action, where teachers and students and parents and community members and caregivers across the country have rallied to speak out against anti-history education bills, what I call truth crime laws in my new book, um, rallied to make their pledge to teach the truth. And these grassroots events expose the dangerous agenda of the anti-history education laws and these executive orders that we've seen. And this year is our 5th annual day of action on June 7th. But every conversation and every lesson, uh, you know, all of it, every moment is a chance to teach the truth. And teachers and allies have led incredibly creative activities, including history walks, book swaps, teach truth photo booths, teach-ins, and more. There's just so many ways to participate in the Teach Truth Day of Action or Days of Action. And activity options for this year include an information table. These information tables we make so easy for you to participate in. You receive a Teach Truth pop-up installation box with banned books, and you can just roll it out. We also have People's History mini lessons on education and resistance, and you can also rally at a historic site or a history walking tour. So the info tables is where you receive the pop-up display in a box where you get banned books and you get an info sheet to place behind each book on the table and items to pass out. So you can host the table at a library, at a farmer's market, at an indie bookstore, at a Pride festival, at a Juneteenth event, wherever there's people congregating. It's a great place to do your little pop-up info table, and we send you all the materials you need to make it successful. Uh, we're excited about the idea of the mini lesson this year. And we also will make it easy for you to do that. We offer a collection of materials that you can choose from for a gallery walk for participants so that they can read and react to quotes and a timeline. If you're doing your event inside, you can post the quotes about the history of the struggle for honest education all around the room, and then people can go through, read the quotes, and leave their comments. If you're doing it outside, folks can hold the quotes and do the same activity. But I think it could be a really powerful way to engage the community about what's happening right now. You can also convene at a historic site, which makes visible the history that is off limits in classrooms under these laws. Historic sites are everywhere. They're in every community. Even a park or a freeway has a history about what was displaced to build it. So these history walking tours can uncover important history that they are trying to hide. And you can do this with people around in advance to read the history at each site. In Memphis, they had an elected leader, a teacher, students read at different historic sites to teach people about the history of their city. You can do book swaps. You can draw attention to the stories being banned. Encourage everyone to bring a book that has influenced their understanding of U.S. history for a book exchange. This can be a really engaging activity. Uh, you know, a walk or a march is always powerful. You can organize a march around your neighborhood to a civic building, have volunteers ready to lead chants or play music. We had some people wanting to get together school bands to be on the march, to highlight what we should be funding in schools. Uh, these can be a lot of fun and create community. And we want you to know that the Zinn Education Project provides supports. If you are going to host one of these events, we want you to know that event hosts receive a variety of materials to make it easy to host an action, including a frequently asked question media guide, so that if you engage with the media, you have all your talking points ready. And we have trainings where event hosts can rehearse their interviews so folks are prepared to control the narrative. And we have all the materials that we'll ship to you to make it easy. So, regardless of which activity selected, everyone will receive a site added to the national map. You see that map there on the screen, and we will show your event on there for everyone around the country to find. You will receive a media toolkit, media workshop, event promotion, and giveaway items, right? The signs, the buttons, and the take action postcard that you see here. Teach, vote, resist, organize, with a QR code that leads to so many ways people can do each of those things, right? It's really exciting to be coming up on the 5th anniversary of the Teach Truth Day of Action, and we couldn't need it more as we see bans getting ready to take place to cut funding from schools that teach the truth about race, gender, or sexuality. This is an urgent time. And the more communities we have rise up on the National Teach Truth Day of Action, the sooner we'll end these truth crime laws. So, what kind of action would you host for the Teach Truth Day of Action? We hope that you'll sign up and join us. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to think about and to find out which of you are going to step up to this call and organize for the day of action. And I'm so excited to see your creativity and the different forms of resistance.
Thank you so much, Chafuzia and Jesse. We do have questions in the chat, so I'm going to bring Julie up here, and Jesse and Fuzia, I'm going to bring you up too so we can answer some of these questions.
Yes, we do have quite a few. You answered quite a few though, about the giveaways. People were concerned about fundraising and where does the money come from for these things and what does this cost. And so you're sending this to them at no cost. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
we've done the fundraising on our end so that we can provide these materials at no cost.
Hey, Julie, you
Perfect.
may also want to answer, like, I think in general, people want to know, like, if I want to do something in my town, like, how do I get money for that? Or, like, I think a lot of these things you can do without really raising a lot of funds. I know Deborah mentioned that community dinner could be a potluck. Maybe you guys could speak to, like, how people could do some of these things without having a huge budget.
Yeah, Fuzi, you want me to start? Feel free to jump in if you have anything to add. But I would just say yes, we hope that these won't be high cost events, that mostly you can host these without incurring any major costs. And if you get a large gathering, it might actually be an opportunity to do some fundraising for future events, to pass the hat at events. And if you have an idea for a follow-up action, you can explain that and what kind of funds you might need.
Yeah, I agree. I think also, for folks who have done this, thinking about mapping out who are your allies in your community and thinking about like in terms of even places like libraries or cafes, like who would allow you to rent a space for free if for whatever reason you can't, host an event at your house. And also who would be, there are some really generous people who'd be willing to cater for free. I think like this is where thinking about like mapping who your allies are, and so who would be able to help you either take on the burden of cost or would be able to provide some type of space or some type of resource for free so that you can actually put on these events. But I agree with Jesse. I think we I've been a part of quite a few activities where like it's either low to no cost. And especially like we also want to make sure that there is low to no cost because you don't want to like start charging people who could potentially be like they're the impacted population or people that you want to build community with. Like you want to have low costs or try to have low cost events so that you can attract a wide, large group of collaborators.
And I will just highlight what Deborah Mankart dropped in the chat, that we've raised enough funds to send out 150 boxes. So we have the capacity to reach the needs of 150 different protests across the country. But beyond that, we don't have the funding. So if you know of someone who can donate more, please share the link that Deborah dropped in the chat there. Or if you have extra funds and want to make it available to help us reach more cities, that would be great.
How could people buy the buttons, and how can they
Yeah.
buy the buttons and stickers and stuff for use as giveaways?
Yeah, so we will be sending free buttons and stickers to people. But if you would like to uh, make the donation, that donation link is there. And then beyond the amount that we have, maybe I'm not sure if we have enough supply to sell more or not. I'll have to check with Deborah on that.
Could I just
Okay.
jump, Julie, could I just jump in and answer that?
Sure.
So this is Deborah. Everybody who gets a kit, I think it's 25 or 50 buttons, but sometimes people order buttons and you can then just ask for donations for them. And usually what we find is that donations that come in at your table cover your cost of just purchasing extra buttons, and that they cover enough that you can give buttons away to people who, like, a kid comes or a teacher comes, you just hand them a button and someone else will hand you $5 and that covers the cost of the extra buttons you bought. So it balances out.
Excellent.
And then you can
Can your links be shared on blogs? Someone had a blog they want to be able to share. Okay. So if you want to have a Know Your Rights event, where people, the target audience is afraid, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I could start it and then Jesse, kick it off to you if you have any ideas. I did see this question, I wanted to get to it, and I will say that a lot of the platforms that like we as organizers, not just an education project, but even other groups I'm a part of, things like Facebook or even Eventbrite, Instagram, are becoming or are compromised. And a lot of people are having conversations in terms of how to organize, particularly like these type of events, Know Your Rights workshops. And a lot of people are taking some risk. Like I still see some events, some rallies and protests being organized over Meta platforms, over Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp. And so I think that's really thinking about, like, you as the organizer, how much risk are you willing to incur, but also encouraging folks to look at Signal, at unique ways of using Signal as a way to also organize events. Like for instance, if you want to create an infographic or some sort of event graphic and post it on some of these platforms that get high traffic, like Facebook, like Twitter, or Blue Sky. But think about like actually organizing the group in a Signal chat, like that might be helpful. Signal, I believe, does not give out like the specifics of the content of text messages, like what they do pass on, like if they get if they're asked for certain information, it's like very basic information. So Signal is proving to be like a very safe space to being able to organize some of these events. But yeah, that's just a couple of initial thoughts I had in mind. I don't know, Jesse, if you want to jump in.
No, I completely agree that activists should be using Signal as much as possible. I appreciate that, and it's just important to be aware that that not everybody feels safe right now, and that there's some very vulnerable populations that we want to find ways to support and not put a target on their back.
Julie, there were a couple of questions, or I don't know if you can hear me, but that I think that you need to address.
Okay.
The first one is people wanted to know, should they be putting our swag, meaning red wine and blue swag, on a table or using their group swag? And then associated with that, someone was wanting to know if they would be under the red wine and blue umbrella as a nonprofit. And so I know, those are very important questions that need to be answered.
Yes. So if you are part of a Trouble Nation group, which is we help people support local organizing, we help people start their groups. You guys are affiliated groups. We are not like a top-down model. We don't have chapters. We're not telling you what you have to do, but we help support you. So you're independent. So you cannot claim the red, blue, and wine and blue name because there's a lot of legal reasons we can't let people use our name. But we are there to support. So you can absolutely, start a group. We help you find a really great name. Anything you're doing locally, we can do that. Can you though, like pass out information from us? Absolutely. We have great flyers, we have great messaging, we have stickers, we have buttons, we have all kinds of fun things that people can pass out. We absolutely want to support you in whatever issue you're focusing on. So if you are there for something around reproductive rights, we can definitely get you messaging and one-pagers that you can pass out to people, along with promoting your own organization, your own group, because part of doing these events is to bring more members into your group, right? You are there because you want to grow your power in your community. So if you are hosting one of these events that Jesse and Fuzia just talked about, or you're doing a tabling event at a festival, you want people to know what your group name is. So absolutely promote yourself.
And then a lot of folks are asking about the slides, about, the recording and all of that. And I know that you will be sending out a follow-up email. Will the slides be included?
If Deborah says it's okay. Yeah, she says it's okay. I see her thumbs up. Yes,
Okay.
we'll get all of the links from Deborah and their slides, and we will definitely send that out. It'll probably be tomorrow. Please check your spam. A lot of our emails go to spam, but we will send that out tomorrow. And the
right.
recordings for all of our events, we have a YouTube channel. So usually within a couple of days, it'll be on our YouTube channel.
Okay, perfect. All right. And then, very quickly, can you explain band bingo? That was one of the first questions that we got.
Yes, and I dropped a link in the chat. I'm not sure if I still have it up here or not. Yes, I do. I just dropped that very long link that just got dropped. That is to our band book bingo download on our website. If you go to our Book Band Busters campaign on our webpage, you can download that toolkit. We've got lovely list of bingo cards you can print off that have different books that have been banned in the United States. And on the back of each card, it tells you why they've been banned. I'm sure none of you would be surprised by some of the stupid reasons these books have been banned, but it is all there for you. These are always huge hits. People really love doing these bad book bingo events. The only thing I say is please check the bingo regulations in your state, because In Ohio and some other places, it's gambling. So you got to be really careful what you're doing.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Getting back to Jesse, you were suggesting different platforms. Someone asked about Hilo. Is that safe? I've never heard of Hilo. Have you heard of Hilo?
Zia, do you know that one? I don't know that one.
I don't know that one. I suggested, and I saw a couple of folks as well, shout out Proton. I recently just went to like a IT tech security event for organizers, and it was spoken really, really highly of. So they have a mail suite similar to Gmail, and also their VPN is really great. They're an organization that's based out in Switzerland, where the country's laws are really strict on privacy. So they're generally, they were highly suggested by the presenters at that event.
Okay. Folks were looking for tools to create their own visualizations. You had a lot of great ideas in your slides. So is there some place where they can get those ideas?
Highly suggest Canva. I know it's been mentioned quite a few times in the chat. Canva has a free version, and they also have, I think I have a personal version where I think I just pay like $10.99 a month. It's worth the $10.99 for me. Highly recommend it. You can create videos, you can create presentations, you can create data visualizations. They have charts, infographics. It's a really great tool that I think is kind of overshadowing Adobe and even like the G Suite as the Gmail or Google Suite as well. Just really great tools. Jesse, I don't know if you want to recommend anything else.
No, I agree. That's what I use.
It says teachers can get free Canva accounts. I've heard that kind of over and over again too. So I just want to make sure that the teachers in the room know that. Someone asked if the day of action could be done on a different day in June.
Yes, and doesn't even have to be June. So we pick a day to focus it around, but we know that folks are doing resistance activities all the time, and connecting it to this national action is powerful. So you can say you're part of this movement, right? But it doesn't have to be on that day if there's a day that works better for you. But using the hashtag Teach Truth so that we can stay connected and see those events, and sending what you do to the Zinn Education Project so we can list you as one of the protests on the map and help get the word out to folks around the country about what you've done is really is really important. And I saw another question in the chat that was about where someone can get banned books, and we send, that's part of what we're sending in the packages to people. So they get a banned book, and they get a card that explains that banned book, why it was banned, what's in it, what kids are missing when they don't get to learn from it. And we make it so easy for you to do a banned book pop-up table that is beautifully designed cards and the books so that they're attention grabbing as people go by. And you can talk about, did you know 4,000 books were banned last year? Have you heard of these titles? Do you know what kids are missing? And engage people in some great conversations.
Do you have resources where folks can find know your rights leaders? Or do you have ideas where people could maybe go to find leaders for that?
Yeah, I dropped something in the chat, but maybe I'll send it to Julie as well to also share with the folks in an email. There are some organizations that run Know Your Rights workshops if you are looking for trainers in particular, or leaders or facilitators to help organize an event with. So let me find, I think I shared one, but I think there are quite a few. So I'll get back to Julie with a couple of resources to share over email, if that's okay.
Then I have two that are kind of related because I think it comes down to the same question. Someone asked about recommendations for a small rural mountain town, but somebody else asked how to get permission to use public space for book swap in a conservative town. So these are kind of very similar, if you could speak on those.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this. Last year in Seattle, where I'm from, we did our event at a park. And so if there's a park in your town, um, that's pretty simple to do a pop-up table on the sidewalk next to the park where a lot of people are coming. Um, doesn't cost any money and is an easy place to engage with people. I would encourage people to think about doing the historical walking tour. If you can do a little research on your town, every town has some history of resistance or struggle for people's human rights. And if you can find sites where there was a protest at some point or uncover some kind of history of injustice that occurred in your town, and you can assemble at that spot and teach your community that history, that can be one of the most powerful things because people realize they didn't learn about that in school. They grew up in that small town and lived there their whole lives, and yet they didn't know that this event had occurred in their town. And that can make people's eyes open to the fact that they're not being taught the whole truth and that we need to expand what kids are learning. So I'd encourage that. And there's been some incredible historical walking tours that people have done all over the country that have really galvanized their community and taught them a lot in a way that's not your normal march and rally.
Someone asked if you're still allowing performances of Voices of a People's History.
Oh, I love Voices of a People's History. We are not the ones that organize that event through the Zinn Education Project. There's a separate foundation that's Voices of a People's History that does that event. But that is a great idea for an activity because you can get the book Voices of a People's History. In fact, I have a speech in the new edition, in the two new editions. The Voices of a People's History for the 21st Century and also the previous edition about education. And these are some of the greatest letters, speeches, poems, songs of resistance from throughout US history. And then you can get different people to introduce those poems, songs, stories, and then read those words. And it can really bring to life the power of resistance in a new way. I love that idea for an event.
The somebody came in late. How do you get the banned books package from Zinn? We're going to send out information in a follow-up email. So anything that was missed, you'll get. This also, again, is being recorded and will be on our YouTube channel in a couple of days for you to go back and review or share with others. And you said that book is called Voices of a People's History?
That's right. Yeah, it's so the original edition is co-edited by Howard Zinn and Anthony Arnov. And then the new one for the 21st century is Anthony Arnov and Haley Passon.
And then final one that I see here is, what is a teach-in?
Yay, I'm so glad that was asked because I hope people will think about doing that action this year. Teach in or a mini lesson. We have a package to make it very easy for you to do this year, and it's the first year we're offering this, and we really hope people will try this one out. We have a couple of different ways to engage in this. First, we have quotes about the struggle for honest education and for Black education that's being banned all over the country. And these quotes will knock your socks off. They are very powerful from throughout US history of people talking about the centrality of the struggle for education in broader struggles for social justice and to transform what we learn. And you see these quotes, you put these quotes up all over the room, or you have people holding up these quotes. You could do it in a circle if you're in a park, and then everyone can go around and read these quotes and leave a post-it note on them with their reaction to what it made them think of or how it applies to today's struggle. And that can be an opening activity, and then you can debrief. What was your favorite quote? How does these quotes inspire us today? And then we have a lesson that teaches us about the history of the struggle for Black education. We have a timeline that we've created that shows these movements that have erupted to expand our rights, expand our access to education, and then the backlash that occurs when they want to shut down education, when they want to ban books, because this isn't the first era, right? That we're not living through the first time that powerful people have tried to limit access to education. In fact, my ancestors, it was illegal for my ancestors to read and write. So we start with the anti-literacy laws that were imposed on enslaved Black people, and then the resistance that they built anyway. And we can see the whole history of that. So you can pass out the timelines that we have for people to read the history of the struggle for access to education, that is made in a beautiful graphic, and to respond to what that history means and how it informs our current moment. We've laid it all out with instructions to make it very simple to understand how to engage people in those lessons, and you can adapt it. You can use the timeline and for a discussion. But I can't wait to hear how it goes for you, and I hope you'll try these varied methods and let us know what happened.
Okay. Well, that's what I had. I'll kick it back over to Julie.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I would like to give a big shout out to the Zinn Education Project, to Fuzia and Jesse for joining us tonight. I will definitely send out an email with links to all of this. Deborah's going to be busy sending me a bunch of links and the slides and all the information. We were really excited to participate and be part of the Teach Truth. So we will we'll let you know what Red, Wine, and Blue is going to be up to. And then Jesse, I'm trying to look at my calendar. You're coming back to actually do an event with us too. So look on the calendar for Jesse. I don't think it's up yet, but we're having him back to talk about education and why it is so hard to get anti-racist education in our schools and the history behind that. So it should be really interesting. All right. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your very active participation in the chat, and we will hopefully see you on Thursday for our very first civics series. Let's go back to high school and learn all the things we forgot. So we will see you then.
Thanks so much.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.